Welcome back. In the previous video, we solved the first part of this question, the probability that both of them get an A. In this video, we will solve the second and third part of the question, the probability that none of them gets an A and the probability that at least one of them gets an A. Let's begin with the second one, the probability that none of them gets an A. In the previous video, we found out that the probability that Duku gets an A is 2 divided by 3. The probability that Duku does not get an A is 1 divided by 3. The probability that Kwame gets an A is 1 divided by 4. And the probability that Kwame does not get an A is 3 divided by 4. We are looking for the probability that none of them gets an A. Duku and Kwame are going to write an examination, and we are being told that none of them gets an A. What this means is that Duku does not get an A and Kwame does not get an A because none of them gets an A. So the probability that none of them gets an A is equal to the probability that Duku does not get an A and the probability that Kwame does not get an A. We have and here, so we are going to use multiplication. Probability that Duku does not get an A is given as P into brackets D complement. We have and here, so you bring the multiplication. Probability that Kwame does not get an A is given as P into brackets K complement. P into brackets D complement is 1 divided by 3. P into brackets K complement is 3 divided by 4. So probability that none of them gets an A is equal to 1 divided by 3 times 3 divided by 4, which will give us 1 divided by 4. So we can say that the probability that both Duku and Kwame does not get an A is 1 divided by 4. The last part of the question says that we should find the probability that at least one of them gets an A. We have found the probability that none of them gets an A. In the previous example that we solved, we learned that the statement at least one of them is opposite to the statement none of them. And when you have two statements like that, then the probability of the first statement plus probability of the second statement is equal to 1. So the probability that at least one of them gets an A plus the probability that none of them gets an A is equal to 1. We want to find the probability that at least one of them gets an A, so we are going to make that the subject. And this will give us the probability that at least one of them gets an A is equal to 1 minus the probability that none of them gets an A. We have found the probability that none of them gets an A. We got 1 divided by 4. So we can say that the probability that one of them gets an A is equal to 1 minus 1 divided by 4. And this is equal to 3 divided by 4. So the probability that at least one of them gets an A is 3 divided by 4. Thank you for watching this video. Subscribe to this channel for more videos by clicking on the red subscribe button that you see. In the next video, we are going to solve another practical problem involving probability. Bye-bye.